So they all got these little teeny holes bored into them, right? All of them have that. Looks like someone took a BB gun to them. Right, here's another one. Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGuardian.com, and I thought I would do a short video here just talking about the importance of harvesting your potatoes at the right time. I've done lots of videos about when to harvest potatoes, and I'll put some links to those at the end of this one here. But the other side of the equation is like when not to harvest potatoes, or to put it another way, the consequences of waiting too long to harvest potatoes. Okay, now there's lots of people, I like the idea, and I've heard people talk about this. Oh, I just leave them in the ground and I pick them as I need them and they keep just fine in the ground, right? That sounds wonderful, and it's idyllic and almost utopian in a sense, right? And I've tried doing that in different years. Number one, if you live in a cold climate, I know I'm speaking to my situation here in Nova Scotia, Canada. Everybody has a different sense of what cold gets. It gets down to minus 20 Celsius here. That's about as cold as it gets in the winter. And as far as Canada goes, it's one of the warmer places. It gets a lot colder in Canada. Anyway, most potatoes, some will survive the winter in the ground. Most of them turn into mush. If I put 100 potatoes in the ground and dug them up the following spring, the vast majority of those potatoes would just be liquefied. They don't survive the winter. Some do, some don't. So right there, that's, there's a limit to how long you can leave them in the ground. But there's a much more important reason to get them out of the ground as soon as they die, basically. Once you've noticed them flop down, okay, like you'll notice them dying, they'll start to look unhealthy and the leaves will turn color and turn yellow and brown, but eventually they'll just flop down. It'll look like almost like someone stomped the whole pile out. So the potatoes that were growing along this edge here, I just harvested them this week. And they've been dead for weeks and weeks and weeks, right? They're basically, let me see if I can find, yeah. So this is what they looked like, right? They were completely dead. And if you walked by here, you wouldn't even know I'd grown potatoes here. There was that little of the plants left. There was just no evidence that potatoes had even been here. I knew they were here. So I dug them up. And I'll tell you, here's what happened. And I mentioned this many times in my videos, and I didn't take my own advice just because I got busy doing stuff and kept putting it off and putting it off. But about this volume here, okay? So this is maybe a quarter of the total haul from this section of the garden of potatoes. These are all, they're either classic russet or russet Burbank, I don't know which. But they're basically a russet type potato. So generally speaking, they're a tough, resilient, reliable, relatively pest-proof potato. But this entire container here, all of them, these are the ones I've sort of set aside. You can still eat these, but you have to sort of carve them up to get out the bad spots. So they all have got these little teeny holes bored into them, right? All of them have that. Looks like someone took a BB gun to them. Right, here's another one. Right, there's some insect that does that. I don't know what it is. I don't know what would be required to protect my plants from that pest. Look at this one. Right? When I went into them, whatever it wasn't living in there. There wasn't like a whole bunch of gross things living in the potatoes. I just cut the bad parts out, and we ate some of them yesterday for Thanksgiving. But this, aside from the odd one that I drove my digging tool through, like this one here, right? Most of these, they've got those little tiny holes, like someone took a little BB gun to them. And I always notice that this happens when I leave my potatoes in, an extra 3 weeks or whatever, an extra month or something like that. When the plant flops down, that's when you should pull them. The longer you leave them after that, it's just a time thing, right? I can't speak to all soils and all places and all ecosystems, but where I garden, I've always found it to be the case that if I leave my potatoes in the ground, the longer they're left in the ground, the greater portion of the yield is shot up with these little holes. Right? If I get them immediately, as soon as the plants sort of flop down, there's hardly any damage at all. They're almost all good, viable potatoes. If I wait, you know, there's something over there making a noise. It's really unnerving. I don't know what it is. Anyway, if I, what is that? It seems to only make a noise when I'm facing this way. Anyway, must be an animal. There's got to be a bird or something like that. I'm sorry, I had a bear trash my garden a few weeks ago. And whenever I'm out here, I'm a bit, it's not going to come around this time of day, but it does get you a little bit, you know, what was that? You know, get you sort of wired up like that. Anyway, I found the longer you leave them in the ground, the greater the probability is that they're going to have these little holes in them, and the greater portion of your yield is compromised. Now, you can still cut the bad parts out and use them, but you can't put them in storage, and you have to meticulously, you don't want to have any of these in storage because you don't know if there's something in there or not. You just don't know, right? And you don't want to have a couple potatoes in a stored batch go bad because they smell like a corpse, and it'll compromise the other ones. And I mean, all kinds of terrible stuff can happen, right? So it just makes your work a lot harder, because you'll notice some of them are like this. So now every single potato, you know, after you've dried them out and cured them, you have to, you know, be examining the whole potato, right? Looking for the compromised ones, because they just don't keep, they don't store. They're, you know, like the potato stores in its peel. If the potato peel is compromised, you've compromised the packaging of the potato, right? It covers itself with that peel so it can store itself, right? Right? It grows, it wants to survive, you know, whatever, you know, Peruvian or what, Bolivian winter, wherever they evolved, right? That part of the world, right? It has a peel on the exterior to sort of protect itself from the elements over the course of that natural winter so it can start growing the following year. It's got its own wrapper, it's got its own protection. The pest compromises that protection. They don't store, and it's just gross and all that sort of stuff, right? So you certainly can't give them to people, right? So yeah, that's the short advice in this little video. When your potatoes change color and flop down, don't procrastinate. Get out there, dig them up, cure them and store them. You know, by cure I just mean like lay them out on a piece of cardboard to dry out a little bit, a little fan going or something like that, or put them in a room somewhere where there's a bit of airflow, right? Get the skins dried out, and they'll keep quite some time. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. And you know, for those of you that are regularly following the channel and you've sort of been with me for a while, you might recall that last winter I started a separate channel called Outdoors on the Cheap, where I go off in the woods and do stuff in the woods and talk about knives and axes and carving and bushcraft and, you know, wood carving and camp skills, and you know, it's a general thrust. If it's some fishing and some stuff like that, right? So I started doing a channel about that, and I was, you know, making a video or two a week for most of the winter, and then if you were following it, you noticed it sort of tailed off in the summer. I made some videos in spring and summer, but I bought new camera equipment and I was learning how to use it, and all of that footage was just no good. And making those videos is different than making it's a whole different skill set, making videos when you're sort of out in the woods in nature doing stuff like that. It's just there's a lot to learn in terms of how to do it. And I also had a new camera and I didn't know how to use the camera, and so I'd always have it on the wrong settings and the video would be terrible. But on top of that, those are videos I can't just come home from work and do, you know, come out in the backyard and do in a quick half an hour. Those are videos I have to gear up. I have to, you know, basically devote a good part of a Saturday or a Sunday or a day off to filming, because I have to do it out in the woods, right? So yeah, you know, I fully intend to. I've started making new videos for it and gotten back into it, and it's a channel I want to grow and develop. And you know, for those of you who already subscribed, that's great. And for those that watch the little promo thing about the giveaway and all that sort of stuff, that's still going on. I'm not giving anything away until I get to 1,000 subscribers. We haven't got there yet. I think we're at 780 subscribers now. So we're trying to grow that a little bit. But yeah, I'm getting back into producing videos for that, and more will be coming, more to come. If you've gotten away from following that, please check it out. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. That'll help me just move that thing along and get that fully in swing, just like this channel. It's just another passion of mine, another thing I like to do. And I didn't want to put those videos on this channel because it's really got nothing to do with gardening. But it is stuff I wanted to share with people, because just like in my gardening channel, I'm coming at that from a different angle from most of the people doing it. right? Other people use $200 knives, I use $30 knives. Other people use $200 axes, I use $20 axes. That sort of thing, right? Or other people say you need this, that, and the other thing. I'd say, oh, you don't need any of that. Just this thing will do just fine, right? So I try to keep it simple and you know, talk about being out in the woods and doing stuff like that on a low budget. And you know, I've always done that stuff on a low budget, and it's always worked out fine. So anyway, I hope you like this video. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. And check out my podcast, maritimegardening.com. And until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.